what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over some high IQ Fortnite tips / strategies that I wish I knew earlier. These really aren't going to be super specific tips that all focus on one niche area of the game like box fighting or build battling. They're more so going to be general and cover a bunch of different situations that you may find yourself in during a game. And since they're high IQ tips, they mostly deal with the mental side of Fortnite, so it's not like you're going to have to hop into creative and practice anything. As long as you pay attention, they should be fairly easy to implement into your game. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first high IQ tip that I wish I realized earlier is to pay close attention to your enemy's material usage in a fight, and this actually refers to a few different things. First off, if an enemy switches material type in the middle of a hectic build fight, that's actually a solid sign that they're probably running low on materials. Not always, but I would definitely say most of the time that's going to be the case. When a player's in a build fight, the vast majority of the time they'll just start building with a certain material, most commonly wood obviously, and they'll just keep building until they run out of that, and once that happens, the game auto switches them to the next material. It didn't always work like that, but auto switching materials is a setting that's been in Fortnite for about 2 years now, and that's something that 99.999% of players have on. So because of that, it's very rare that someone will pause in the middle of a fight to manually switch materials, because it's not like that really does anything major to help you. So if you're fighting someone and in the middle of the fight you notice they switch from using wood to brick, you should be thinking, alright, they're probably running somewhat low on mats. Because it's so much harder to get brick and metal than it is to get wood, it's pretty rare in normal games especially that a player will have more than maybe 300 or 400 brick / metal. And then if you see them randomly switch from brick to metal, it's pretty much guaranteed that they're running super low on mats. That's obviously helpful information because at that point you just want to play super defensive and try to spray and drain the enemy until they're totally out. And if you can successfully do that, you should never ever lose a fight to an enemy who has no materials. Just stay 2 to 3 levels of high ground above them and just pick them apart with shotgun or AR shots with ease. But along with paying attention to and looking for material switches, you also want to be monitoring your opponent's material usage in general. This one's a little less straightforward, but let's say you're going up against a dude who's building like crazy early in the fight, and then about halfway through he starts playing low ground a lot and just conceding high ground to you. That's a pretty surefire sign that he's running low on mats. So again, as soon as you recognize that, play a little more passive, keep high ground, and whatever you do, don't make any kind of risky 50-50 plays because that's exactly what the enemy's hoping for. The next tip is one that I think is most helpful in box fight situations, making plays based around your enemy reloading, and I think it applies to both the offensive and defensive end of box fighting. Let me give you a quick example of this from a gameplay I uploaded a few weeks ago. What you're going to see is that I take the enemy's front wall, and he responds back by trying to spray at me. So what I do is just turbo build the wall to block his bullets, and then as soon as I hear him run out of shots, that's when I immediately go for an edit play and pick up the easy kill. Now obviously that enemy wasn't the greatest player in the world, but the general principle still applies even against really good players. A mistake that I see people make all the time is that they get so nervous and impatient when an enemy sprays their wall. And that leads to them trying to make some kind of rushed edit play, then they end up choking, the enemy continues spraying their wall, now they take a good amount of damage, it's just a disaster. The much better play is to do what I did in that clip. Most SMGs or ARs can only spray for about 5 or 6 seconds before needing to reload, so just chill out a bit, hold down turbo build, and as soon as you hear the shot stop, you have about a 1.5 to 2 second window to make an edit play, which is obviously the time it takes the enemy to either reload their weapon or switch to another weapon in their inventory. I know it sounds kind of simple and easy to do on the surface, but if you don't make a conscious effort to think about this while box fighting, you'd be surprised how easy it is to panic and make some sort of rushed and impatient play that ends up getting you killed. Our next high IQ situational tip that I wish I'd started using earlier is baiting loot from eliminated enemies. One kind of weird thing about Fortnite that I truly believe is a psychological thing to some degree is that people really love to get loot. There's just something about seeing shiny blue, purple, and even gold weapon/items on the ground that for some reason just makes our brain really want to go and pick it up. And I think that mindset applies pretty much equally to insane players, terrible players, and everybody else in between those two extremes. So since that's the case, you can really take advantage of that in a lot of high action fights, especially involving multiple players or teams. Let's say I knock and then eliminate an enemy who just kind of ran out into the open for whatever reason. I'll take a look at my inventory and then I'll take a look at what he dropped. If there's nothing super worthwhile there that really upgrades my situation, I'll just let it sit on the ground and basically use it as bait for the rest of the players in the fight. I know that sooner or later somebody's going to see that loot just sitting out in the open and they just won't be able to resist the urge to gamble and go for it. And when that happens, you now have that player right where you want them. You can probably hit at least 1 or 2 AR shots on them as soon as they sprint out into the open, and then when they actually get to the loot, they're obviously gonna box up, and that makes it super easy for you to make an offensive play on them. Now obviously you don't want to do this if the loot the eliminated enemy drops is really good, because in that case it's better if you pick it up yourself and you don't want the guy who gets it to become absolutely stacked. But as long as you don't see anything crazy in the loot pile, using it as bait is going to help you pick up easy kills, and then when you get that elimination, you not only get the initial loot that you used as bait, but now you also get the loot of the player you baited. The final high IQ trick I wish I knew earlier was to reuse old builds when you're low on materials. Now when I say this, the most common example that people will probably think of is during endgame rotations. Why use 100 to 200 mats to tunnel into zone when you can just walk in behind an old tunnel that somebody already made? But I think reusing old builds applies to regular fights as well. Even by doing something as simple as retreating to a 1x1 you made earlier instead of making a new one, that can actually save you about 40 to 50 mats each time. Navigating around old builds isn't really a skill that I've ever seen anyone mention or specifically point out, but it can go a long way when it comes to saving mats, and that's super important in fights. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. This video is about high IQ Fortnite tips, so I want to know, on a scale of 0 to 10, how high do you think your own personal Fortnite IQ is? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.